Every little thing that breaks your heart is welcome here. We'll make space for it, give it due time and praise for the wanting it represents, the longing for something more, some healing hope that remains not yet. We promise no magic, no making it all better, but offer only this circle of trust, this human community that remembers, though imperfectly, that sings and prays, though sometimes awkwardly. This gathering that loves, though not yet enough. We're still practicing after all, still learning, still in need of help and partners in the work, still becoming able to receive all this beauty and all these gifts that we bring. So let us gather together in worship once again this morning. These words from Gretchen Haley. Welcome all who have gathered for our Sunday service. Welcome to those of you here in the building in Essex Church. Welcome to those joining from far and wide via Zoom and indeed tuning in via YouTube at a later date. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Jane Blackall and I'm minister with Kensington Unitarians. Our service today is titled Circles of Trust. It's a phrase borrowed from my old favourite, the Quaker educator Parker J. Palmer. This morning we'll consider how we might cultivate trust, create the conditions for it, while also reflecting on some questions of discernment. How do we know when to trust and when to hold back? It's not an easy question to answer. And in the words of Frank Crane that are on the front of your order of service today, you may be deceived if you trust too much, but you will live in torment if you don't trust enough. We're never so vulnerable and when we trust someone, but paradoxically, if we don't trust, neither can we find love or joy. Before we go any further, let's do what we always do. We'll light our chalice, this little ritual that gives us a moment to settle and centre, to catch our breath, to arrive. And it reminds us of our connection with Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists the world over and the proudly progressive religious tradition of which this gathering is part. May the light of this chalice be a reminder of the shared values and principles around which we gather, upholding the inherent worth and dignity of every person, cherishing all these diverse creatures and habitats with which we share this earth, our home, seeking human liberation and flourishing and serving the common good of all. May this little light and all that it represents make a home in our hearts, where it will ever guide us back to our highest aspirations and help us be responsive, creative, just and loving in this complex and ever-changing world. Time to sing. Our first hymn this morning is in your green hymn books if you're in the church, number 174. The church is a living fellowship. If you're on Zoom, the words will be up on screen. Feel free to stand or sit as you prefer, and let's sing up A church is a living fellowship, 174. So let's take all of those joys and concerns, both spoken and unspoken, into an extended time of prayer now. It's based on some words by Krista Taves. You might want to adjust your position to get more comfortable. You might want to close your eyes. Perhaps there's a posture that helps you to feel more settled and grounded. Whatever helps you get into the right state of body and mind to be present to yourself, to each other, and to that which lies within us and beyond us. Spirit of life, God of all love, in whom we live and move and have our being. We turn our full attention to you, the light within and without, as we tune into the depths of this life and the greater wisdom to which and through which we are all intimately connected. Be with us now as we allow ourselves to drop into the silence and the stillness at the very centre of our being. We come together in prayer this day, even though some of us struggle with what that means. We come together to stand before that which is greater than us, although we may struggle to say what that is. And so on this day, we pray for those things that we struggle with in our everyday lives, for the conflicts we feel within ourselves and between ourselves and those we love. We pray for guidance, for compassion, for the opening of a path. We pray for those things that give us joy and hope each day, for the things that we trust in, believe in, would sacrifice for. These are gifts of grace, and perhaps we need not define them in order to savour them, to rejoice in them, to be thankful. What we do know is that we gather here this morning with all kinds of needs. Some face health problems and are in need of bodily healing. Others are worn down by all the challenges of these times that we're living through. And we need healing of a different kind, emotional, spiritual. Some face problems at home or in their family. Some are just weary of all the struggles of life and seek some assurance that this suffering will someday pass. Others face the anguish of difficult decisions for themselves, for their families or friends, and for the common good. For each of us, we speak the deepest prayers of our own hearts in our very own ways, knowing that what it means for them to be answered will look different for each of us. May we somehow this morning be met at the point of our differences and also in the places that we are one, of the same breath of life that courses through all living things. May we always hold in our hearts gratitude for those things that bless us with their presence. Forgiveness for the ways in which we have turned from those blessings, and the willingness to open ourselves anew to this beautiful and hurting world. And in a few moments of quietness now, let us seek a higher perspective, a longer view, starting right where we are. Let us shift our awareness ever outward in greater circles of concern. Let us bring to mind all those we know to be struggling this day, perhaps including ourselves, and those we hold dearest, our neighbours in community, and those all round the globe, embroiled in struggles we hear about on the news. Let us send our prayers of loving kindness to all those who suffer this day. And let us take stock of our own lives, the challenges we face, and perhaps our own part in those difficulties. We might be all too aware of mistakes we've made or missed opportunities, times this week where things didn't turn out as we intended or hoped. And let's take this moment to ask for what we might need to start afresh in the coming week so that things might go better. And let us look back over the last week, taking time to notice what was good, to count our blessings, all the ways in which others have helped or encouraged us, inspired or delighted us, all the goodness and the beauty we have known even in the midst of struggle. And let us give prayers of thanks for all the good we've been given. Spirit of life, God of all love, as this time of prayer comes to a close, we offer up our joys and our concerns, our hopes and our fears, our beauty and our brokenness. And we call on you for insight, healing and renewal. As we look forward now to the coming week, help us to live well each day and be our best selves, using our unique gifts in the service of love, justice and peace. Amen. Time to sing again now. Our second hymn is number 220 in your green books, Break Not the Circle. I absolutely love this hymn. It's got a mournful, yearning quality and a beautiful sentiment which I hope reflects some of what we're trying to create here together. For some reason, we don't sing it that often, so I'm going to ask Andrew to play it right through before we sing. Hymn number 220, Break Not the Circle.
Brené Brown's Braving by Ruth Mackenzie. Most of us think of trust as something that is built in grand gestures, someone saving your life or someone rushing to a bedside, and certainly that's true. But social science research says that trust is actually built in very small moments. Brené Brown teases out the building blocks of trust, of act of braving, an acronym she developed to describe the tenets of trust. And I would add, building our capacity and skills as risk takers. She talks about these elements of trust as measurable, observable behaviors and describes them with this acronym, braving, B-R-A-V-I-N-G. We have a chart spelling out the meaning of braving in the order of service and on the website, and we're going to display it on the screen too, though the text is on the small side. Apologies. First, B is for boundaries. I can only build trust with you when you are clear about your boundaries and you hold them, and you understand my boundaries and you respect them. There is no trust without boundaries. Second, R for reliability. You do what you say you're going to do, not once, but over and over again. And I do what I say I'm going to do over and over again. That means being clear about our limitations, about what we can and cannot do. When we're not honest with ourselves or others about our capacity to follow through, our reliability tank will always be riding on empty. Third A, accountability. When you mess up, you own it. You apologize, you make amends, and you extend the same grace to me when I mess up. Allow me to apologize and make amends. V is for the vault. This simply means that what you share with me, I hold in confidence. I is for integrity. I cannot trust you unless you act from a place of integrity and you encourage me to do the same. Integrity means choosing courage over comfort, doing the right thing over what's fun or fast or convenient, and practicing your values, not just professing your values. N is for non-judgment. I can only build trust with you if you accompany me when I fall apart, when my heart aches and I'm needing help, and you meet me with non-judgment. And I show up the same way for you. This is hard for most of us because most of us are much more comfortable being the helper than the helpee. Perhaps your self-worth comes from being the helper, but always assuming the position of the helper does not foster trust. Trust is built on mutual vulnerability, on being human with one another in our struggles and our shortcomings, and having someone to turn to who will meet us with non-judgment. And being the helper does not always build trust. And finally, G is for generosity. Our relationship is not a trustworthy relationship unless you can assume the most generous things about my actions or my words, and you can check in with me. These are the tenets of trust. They are measurable, observable ways we can understand trust. So maybe instead of saying, I don't trust you anymore, or I don't trust that organization, you can break it down a bit and actually get at what broke trust and how might trust be repaired. I will be using the tenets of braving writ large to assess where I will place my trust.
Thanks, Antony. So we're moving into a time of meditation now. And to take us into the stillness, we're going to hear a poem from Rosemary Watola Trommer. We're hearing a lot of her lately. This one is titled, I Live for This Moment. And it describes an ordinary but extraordinary moment with her young daughter. I think moments like the one she describes, these moments of trust and love, they can be found or noticed or cultivated in many of our relationships. And if we create more moments of trust and love, who knows where that might lead, rippling out, what effect it might have. I found the last few lines of the poem especially powerful and affecting. After the poem, we'll hold a few minutes of shared silence and stillness, which will end with the sound of a bell, and then we're going to hear some more lovely music for meditation. So again, do what you need to do to get comfortable. You might want to put your feet flat on the floor to ground and steady yourself. And it's just an offering. Feel free to use this time to meditate in your own way. I Live for This Moment by Rosemary Watola Trommer. I live for this moment, when my daughter stumbles sleepy-eyed from her room, and no matter what I'm doing, I stop and move to the corner of the couch so she can settle her whole weight on me. Maybe we speak of dreams, maybe we converse with the cat, maybe we plan the day, maybe we say nothing at all. All that matters is that she's close, and I nuzzle my face into her hair and wrap an arm around her chest and know this is the beginning of everything. The seed, the cosmic swirl, the headline that's never written. To foster one moment of trust and love is to belong to a crucial revolution. It matters how we hold each other. What happens everywhere starts right here.
Trusting and Being Trusted by Margaret Marshall. Being fully alive requires both finding trusted others as well as being a trusted other. For trusting and being trusted allows us to blossom. To truly live, we must learn the delicate balance of trusting and being trusted. It's not just about sharing our joys or leaning on others in our times of need. It's about creating a space where vulnerability can thrive, where we allow others to see us as we are, flawed, beautiful, and human. Trusting someone means opening a door to our inner world, while being trusted is a gift, a recognition of our ability to hold space for someone else's stories, their fears, and their dreams. When we find those rare connections where trust flows freely in both directions, something remarkable happens. We blossom. We feel seen, valued, and empowered to become the fullest version of ourselves. These bonds remind us that we don't have to carry life's weight alone, and that, in our shared humanity, we find strength and resilience. But trust takes courage. It's a practice of showing up consistently, of listening deeply, and of holding space with compassion. And when we cultivate this practice, both in finding trusted others and in being one ourselves, we create a foundation of love and connection that allows us to truly flourish.
Thanks, Patricia. Being fully alive requires both finding trusted others as well as being a trusted other. For trusting and being trusted allow us to blossom. And those few words from Mark Nepo are at the heart of what today's service is all about. I believe his message. It rings true to me. We humans need to trust and feel trusted in order to be fully alive. Yeah, I guess most of us will have had experiences, some small incidents, some devastating incidents of having trusted a person or an institution and having that work out badly for us when our trust was broken or abused or taken advantage of. We know, don't we, that this troubled and often terrifying world is full of peril and risk. So it's understandable that we might retreat into a state of being wary and defended in order to protect ourselves from harm. Let's pause for a moment and consider, hopefully clarify what it is we mean by trust. One of the dictionary definitions I like best for trust is this: to believe that someone is good and honest and will not harm you, or that something is safe and reliable. That is, we need to have trust in situations in which we are in some way vulnerable. One way to think about trust and trusting is about putting yourself or something especially precious to you into the hands of another. We might put our body into the hands of a surgeon or a lover. Both of these require great trust. We might put our heart, in a less literal sense, into the hands of a beloved or a friend as we share intimacies and confide in them, trusting that they will be kind and loving in how they receive it and how they respond. On a rather more mundane level, we might put our spare house keys in the trust of a neighbour, allowing them to access our home and possessions, or trusting them to cat sit or dog sit or water our tomato plants while we're away. I'm sure you can think of lots of other instances day to day where trust is woven into our lives. It is risky to trust, to put ourselves into other people's hands. But if we never take such risks, then we can become closed off, isolated, and we can miss out on so much in life. We might end our days realizing we have not lived and loved as fully as we might have done. But there is always a leap of faith involved in deciding to trust. We don't know how it's going to turn out. There's a short and slightly ominous quote from Ernest Hemingway on this, which acknowledges that our trust will sometimes be misplaced. We can't know for sure. He famously said, "The best way to find out if you can trust somebody is to trust them." A more light-hearted take on the dilemma of trust is encapsulated in these words from Lemony Snicket, who wrote, "Deciding whether or not to trust a person is like deciding whether or not to climb a tree, because you might get a wonderful view from the highest branch, or you might simply get covered in sap. And for this reason, many people choose to spend their time alone and indoors where it's harder to get a splinter." This in turn links back to the quote from Frank Crane I shared at the top of the service. "You may be deceived if you trust too much, but you will live in torment if you don't trust enough." We're never so vulnerable than when we trust someone, but paradoxically, if we cannot trust, then neither can we find love or joy. Some of us might have a more trusting temperament, some of us might be more naturally wary. I came across some thoughts on this by Unitarian Universalists Christine Robinson and Alicia Hawkins. They wrote about the basic trust, which, if we are well cared for, we learn as infants. The inner sense that I can trust the world, I know more or less what to expect, I will be cared for, it's okay. They continue, over our lives, we build on our foundation of basic trust with specific experiences of trust, gullibility, cynicism, and reconciliation after breaches of trust. These experiences give us a sort of default trust setting, an attitude with which we face the world. And our default setting not only shapes our own feelings and behaviour, it also shapes the way others behave towards us. It might seem that the cynical attitude is safest, but since people who sense they are not trusted often withdraw from relationship and sometimes even act in untrustworthy ways, it is actually a terrible risk. And while the happy-go-lucky trust the universe stance might seem like an advanced spiritual practice, in reality it can invite exploitation. Words from Robinson and Hawkins. While I was pondering this subject during the week, I found myself thinking about the temperamental variation of cats and dogs as a model for thinking about trust. In fact, on Friday, I was in a ministers' meeting with my colleagues, Laura and Michael, where Laura's dog Bess and Michael's cat Willow were also present. And as I don't have any pets myself, I consulted them on this matter. I observed that some pets are very self-contained, very wary, very slow to trust, preferring to keep their distance, whilst others are utterly unboundaried, intuitively open, demanding of love, affection, and belly rubs. My Instagram feed has ended up with a lot of cat and dog videos on it. I'm only human. In this last week, I've seen a lot of clingy cats demanding cuddles and bucking the cat stereotype. But I usually get lots of videos of kind and patient carers in animal rescue shelters doing the slow work of regaining the trust of animals who have been neglected or abused. Sometimes you get to see the whole long story unfold with a dog that starts out trembling in fear in the corner of a cage, averting its eyes, making itself small. And this dog will eventually very tentatively approach the carer, maybe allow itself to be stroked and then cuddled. You see a little wag of the tail as it's starting to turn. And by the end of the video, it's all belly rubs and ebullient joy. Clearly, this is often a long and painful process, but it's an incredible model of trust building unfolding in front of your eyes. And it's not too much of a stretch to see the parallel in many of our human relations. We each need to discern for ourselves who we can trust and who we can't. Or perhaps I should say when we can trust and when we can't. There may be people we can trust in some domains, but not in others. There's an element of context dependence, I think. In each moment, we need to consider what might be gained and what might be lost by taking the risk of being more trusting and open. We won't and we shouldn't trust everyone equally all of the time. We need to set these boundaries for our own protection. And each of us is probably aware of the different levels of trust we have with others, radiating out in concentric circles from us. We'll most likely have an inner circle of close confidants, people who we trust to share the intimate details of our lives, and some trusted comrades who we can rely on to give us practical support and encouragement. Some of you have probably taken part in an exercise that's called the Trusted 10. It comes up a lot in diversity and equalities training, and I'm not going to focus on that aspect of the exercise today, but it's an interesting and important thing to reflect on the makeup of your Trusted 10. But if you want to have a go, it simply invites you to make a list of the 10 people you trust the most, and then reflect on why you trust them, what it is that makes them trustworthy to you. And perhaps there might be some of the echoes of the qualities we heard in the reading from Brené Brown earlier. I'm interested in how we might create the conditions for deepening trust, whether that's in the context of our personal relationships or in our community or in the wider world. And I think they're all joined up anyway. That's why I so love that poem from Rosemary Watola Trommer, with that image of just stopping what she was doing to be fully present, giving her time and attention to her daughter, and those beautiful and inspiring closing lines. To foster one moment of trust and love is to belong to a crucial revolution. It matters how we hold each other. What happens everywhere starts here. And Mark Nepo said something similar about how the trust we build at a micro scale can have an impact that travels much further than we can possibly know. He said, let this be a reminder to seek those connections and be that safe place for somebody else. In doing so, we invite the blossoming of not just ourselves, but the whole world around us. I mentioned at the start of the service that this title, Circles of Trust, was borrowed from my favourite and oft quoted Parker J. Palmer. It's a phrase he uses for a certain way of holding space for small groups, very much like our own Unitarian engagement groups. These groups that have this structure which is intended to cultivate deeper trust and make space for the soul to emerge. So I wanted to share an extended extract from him on this, few paragraphs from his book, A Hidden Wholeness. Parker J. Palmer says this. The soul is like a wild animal, tough, resilient, resourceful, savvy, self-sufficient. It knows how to survive in hard places, yet despite its toughness, the soul is also shy. Just like a wild animal, it seeks safety in the dense underbrush, especially when other people are around. If we want to see a wild animal, we know that the last thing we should do is go crashing through the woods, yelling for it to come out. But if we will walk quietly into the woods, sit patiently at the base of a tree, breathe with the earth and fade into our surroundings, the wild creature we seek might put in an appearance. We may say it only briefly and out the corner of an eye, but the sight is a gift we will always treasure as an end in itself. He continues, unfortunately, community in our culture too often means a group of people who go crashing through the woods together, scaring the soul away. In spaces ranging from congregations to classrooms, we preach and teach, assert and argue, claim and proclaim, admonish and advise, and generally behave in ways that drive everything original and wild into hiding. Under these conditions, the intellect, emotions, will, and ego may emerge, but not the soul. We scare off all the soulful things, like respectful relationships, goodwill, and hope. He concludes, the people who help us grow towards true self, They offer unconditional love, neither judging us to be deficient nor trying to force us to change, but accepting us exactly as we are. And yet this unconditional love does not lead us to rest on our laurels. Instead, it surrounds us with a charged force field that is safe enough to take the risks and endure the failures that growth requires. Circles of trust combine unconditional love or regard with hopeful expectancy, creating a space that both safeguards and encourages the inner journey. In such a space, we are freed to hear our own truth, touch what brings us joy, become self-critical about our faults, and take risky steps towards change, knowing that we will be accepted no matter what the outcome. Words from Parker Palmer on Circles of Trust. I think his vision really resonates with what we're trying to create here in this beloved community, and I hope you'll agree. Particularly in our engagement groups, places like Heart and Soul, we're making a clearing into which the shy, wild animal of our soul can emerge. A safer, softer, kinder space where, over time, given constancy, a deeper level of trust becomes possible. And this way of being might just be something we can carry with us out into the rest of our lives, changing those around us, spreading transformative trust out into the world. In that spirit, I want to close with a few prayerful words based on a prayer from my colleague Matthew Smith, in the hope that these might prepare our hearts to trust in the days to come. Spirit of life, God of all love, in this moment, let us be conscious of the importance of trust in our lives. While being open to others carries its risk, we know our hearts will shrink and wizen if we live mainly by wariness and suspicion. Let us be willing to open ourselves up to love and trust for our own dear sakes. There is good in the world. There is good in people. Sometimes we need to look deeply, but it is there. We know there are tens of millions of hearts yearning for the same things that we do. Love, justice, care, compassion. As we reach out, let us have resolute faith that we will connect with those true hearts, the companions we really need for life's journey. So it is that we recognize and celebrate the hard but invaluable work of trusting and reaching out in our own lives and in the practice of spiritual community as we commit to creating a better world together. And may it be so for the greater good of all. Amen. Time for one last hymn, and it's a good one. On your hymn sheet, The Church Where Love Lives.
Oh
Just a few announcements then. Thanks to Ramona for hosting in the face of technical traumas. Thanks to Sherry for co-hosting online. Thanks to Andrew and the Quartet. Lucy, Margaret, Benjie and Edwin. Wonderful stuff. Thanks to Antony and Patricia for reading. Thanks to Marianne for greeting. And I see Liz has gone to put the kettle on. If you're here in person, do stay for cuppa and some cake. Today we've got apple and sultana or pear, hazelnut or chocolate. And there's still leftovers from last week, I think. So help us eat them up. 12:30 back here in the church, Margaret will be leading the singing class. Find your voice. She can help anybody make a better sound. Have a word with Margaret if you want to know more. Tonight we've got the Better World Book Club when we're talking about Don't Forget We're Here Forever by Lamorna Ash. If you're expecting to come and haven't yet had the link from me, nudge me and I'll send it later today. Next month we are reading What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat by the fat liberation activist Aubrey Gordon. Really recommended. I've got a few copies to lend out if you want to join us for that in February. On Friday at 7, we've got our Heart and Soul Contemplative Spiritual Gathering. This week it's on the theme of simplicity. Let me know if you want to come along to that. All are welcome. Looking a bit further ahead, you might want to come on the winter walk, weather permitting. On Thursday, the 5th of February, there's about 8 of us signed up already now to go to Rainham Marshes RSPB Reserve, which is near Purfleet Station. Let me know if you want more details. We might cancel at the last moment if the weather's really bad. Next Sunday, Sarah Tinker will be leading the service on the theme of marking the days. All this is on the back of your order of service. It's on the Friday email. You can pick up a newsletter if you haven't already had one. We've very much got a life beyond Sunday mornings. So do what you can to keep in touch, nurture all those supportive connections. Just time for our closing words and closing music now. We've shared this hour of worship as we share our membership of this living earth and her human family. As we part, let's remember the ties that hold us close, the divine unity in which we exist, and the path of loving faith that leads us from death to life. And in that spirit, let us conclude with the universal prayer for peace. Lead us from death to life, from falsehood to truth. Lead us from despair to hope, from fear to trust. Lead us from hate to love, from war to peace. Let peace fill our heart, our world, our universe. Amen.